Hi APES classes, this is Ms. Howington at Research Triangle High School. Today we are going to talk about free response questions. So on the AP exam, you will have to answer 4 free response questions. You will have 90 minutes to answer all 4 of them, which breaks down to having about 22 minutes per question. So so you do need to move very quickly through these, but at the same time, you also need to take your time and answer the questions very thoroughly. So let's go ahead and look at some slides so that you can see what you need to do and what's not great to do. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is read all 4 of the free response questions, and you want to pick the one that you know the best and that you feel the most comfortable with to answer first, and then work on the other 3 later. So in our quizzes throughout the year, we'll only have 1 free response question, so you won't have to pick. I'll pick for you based on the content that we've covered. So when you're answering the question, you need to remember not to restate the question exactly. They have the question there, so you don't need to do that. Follow the directions that are in the prompt exactly. Okay? We're going to go through a way to show or to help you remember what the key words are, so that we can answer these questions very exactly. So when you're doing this, you're going to give very clear and concise answers. You don't want to elaborate a ton unless the wording of the question makes you think that you should. You should never, ever, 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 ever make lists unless it says to list. Your answer has to be in complete sentences, and all buzzwords or vocab words that you use, you need to define. So, some common verbs that they use are compare, which means we need to point out similarities and differences, or explain. That means you need to tell somebody how this is happening, and why this is happening. So give lots of reasons for it. Describe means that you are going to paint a picture with your words. For compare, explain, describe, discuss, all of those, you should be writing 3 sentences or more when you see those words. Discuss means to consider it from multiple points of view, so maybe give us the pros and the cons, explain to us why this would be an appealing thing or a not appealing thing, and then when you see identify or state or list, then you just have to name it, maybe give us a very short explanation. All right, so when you read the question, so the questions look like this. When you read it, you're going to, ooh, that didn't come out right. All right, so we're just going to skip to the question that we're going to do in class. All right, so whenever you see a word that is a verb, so that's telling you, so one of these common verbs up here, or something similar, you are going to put a square around it. So every time you see a verb, you're going to put a square around it, preferably not one that is filled. So you're going to put a square around it. So identify and describe, so that means we need to describe as well. Hopefully this will take you less time if you don't have to use clip art. 2 major, and then whenever we see a number, we're going to circle it so that you remember very clearly how many things you are supposed to have in your list. And then any keywords in the question, you are going to underline. So you're going to underline the thing that's like what you need to be answering. So we need to identify and describe 2 major causes for the decline of the species. So for the original decline. All right, so major causes for the decline. So we're going to underline those. All right, and we're going to do that for all of the parts of the question. So I'll leave you to do B, C, and D on your own. And so then when you're answering the question, you have a really quick reference for yourself. So you can go back and say, all right, I need to identify. That means that I need to just name it and define what it is. All right, and describe. So that means that I need to paint a picture with my words. So that means you're writing 3 sentences or more. So for 2 major causes. So that means that this answer should probably be about 6 sentences long. So I would name a cause for the decline of the species. So maybe whooping cranes declined, or the whooping crane population declined because I don't know, a wizard came and made them all be infertile. And then I would describe that further and say the wizard was really angry because the whooping crane stole his golden harp, and so he cast a spell causing these species to not be able to reproduce as quickly as they used to be able to, and a slower reproductive rate meant that the population declined and could not recover. So clearly that is not the right answer for this question, but you get the idea. And then I would do that twice for another reason why the whooping crane declined. Alrighty, so hopefully you get the idea. So you're going to work through, so make sure you read this original prompt up here, because there's usually a lot of really good information here, information that can help you answer the questions. And sometimes if you read this little blurb at the top carefully enough, it might answer one of these parts of the questions. And then, so once you have annotated your questions, so remember we're going to put rectangles around the verbs, circles around the numbers, and then underline the key phrases that they're asking us to cover in our answers. So once you've done that and written your answer, we will go over how to grade these in class. All right, have fun with your first FRQ.